All right, well, we'll get to that in just a minute, but let's bring in Vanessa. Hopefully you remember a little bit about what Professor French said about the 911 call and the length. So weigh in on this. Why is this important?
Well, the length of the 911 call is important because in what's going on and proper analysis, you need to have at least, I think it's 14 seconds of someone speaking. As you know, yesterday we found out that they had looped the 911 call with that scream so that they could analyze over the course of the appropriate amount of seconds, which is 14 seconds. So they essentially manipulated it.
Let's take a quick second real quick and listen to what Professor French said about the length of that call.
Sure.
How much screaming would it take in order for you to be able to do this?
Well, it depends how extreme the screaming was. I think if the screaming can I move on to the specifics of this case?
Certainly.
If the screaming in this case had been for several minutes, net screaming, I don't know, maybe even half an hour, I don't think you could come up with a result. It's not something which you can specify in terms of length, because if it went on and on and on in exactly the same way as the few seconds that we've got in the recording in this case, it wouldn't be in the least helpful. It wouldn't allow us to move to a conclusion, no matter how much of it there was. In the criminal recording, with the recording of the known suspect.
Let me bring you in again and just ask you, why is this 911 tape considered to be very important evidence in this trial?
Well, I think the more important thing that we need to focus on is the Fry hearing itself. The purpose is to find out if this testimony is going to confuse the jury and if the methodology is generally accepted in that particular scientific community. And, you know, essentially Professor French is saying that no matter how long the scream is, it's just not appropriate to analyze the scream because it needs to be a speaking voice sample. The speaking voice sample is going to be analyzed by using the sound of the vowels and the consonants and the habit of the speaker in order to see what they're saying or who's speaking. And he said just clearly it's generally not accepted in the vocal analysis community to use or analyze screaming or shouting.
All right, so Vanessa, stand by. We'll come back to you in just one second. I want to bring in News 13 web anchor Christine Webb right now. She is monitoring our online chat that has been going on now for about 2 hours at cfnews13.com/chat. So let's bring Christine in. And Christine, tell us a little bit about what chatters have been saying for the past couple hours.
Well, first and foremost, we have a great discussion that's going on right now at cfnews13.com/chat. Many of you commenting on what you're hearing this morning, and many of you talking about who you think that voice is screaming in that 911 call. We have also had a great discussion online right now. We've been talking about, would you like to be on the jury and how long you actually think jury selection will take. We know that jury selection is expected to start on Monday, and many people commenting they think it's going to be a week. Some people even thinking it's going to be longer than a week, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then we've also been asking you, who will you think will be the most important witness in this George Zimmerman trial? We've also been getting many questions from many of you, and we want to bring that to our legal experts as well. So again, make sure you take part in our online chat that's going on right now at cfnews13.com/chat. Kristen, I want to bring you in because we have been getting a lot of questions from our viewers taking part in our chat right now at cfnews13.com/chat. One person wrote in, I'm wondering, should the defense call each Sanford police officer that responded and ask, did you feel you had enough probable cause to arrest George Zimmerman, and how that could play to the jury? We've gotten some pretty interesting questions. I know we've been talking about this all morning.
Yeah, Christine, we have, and we're going to bring those to Vanessa Braley, attorney at NeJame Law, just as soon as we come back from a quick break, but stay with us. More coverage just ahead. Time now is 11:05. A special weekend hearing happening today inside of a Seminole County courtroom just 2 days before the George Zimmerman murder trial will begin. Jury selection set to begin on Monday, but you've been watching that pre-trial hearing live here this morning on News 13. I want to bring in our a legal analyst right now, an attorney from NeJame Law, Vanessa Braley. She is standing by in the studio. And Vanessa, we have this chat going on right now on our website, cfnews13.com/chat, and those of you at home can join in anytime you'd like. But some of our chatters have had some really great questions that I want to bring to you. One of the questions, how much does politics play into this case?
Well, politics, it's interesting because as we've seen lately, there's been a lot of big cases on the television, and we're focusing on it a lot more as a society. And I do believe that the interaction with the community has an effect on the way that the state may choose to, respond and react. So I think that the community and politics and the judicial system are becoming a little bit more entwined lately.
All right, and Vanessa, let me ask you about George Zimmerman's demeanor. A lot of people on our chat have been commenting about his demeanor today, but also these past few days during the hearing. Some things that we've noticed, just kind of sitting there, almost emotionless. Is he being told to do that? Is he being coached? And what are your thoughts on his demeanor?
Well, because the media is so involved and he's obviously all eyes are on him, you generally, and especially for the jury, you generally want to tell your defendant to just be not emotionless, but don't react very strongly, because you never know how someone's going to read that reaction. Every little motion or move that he makes is being scrutinized by the jury and by the public, and it could be misconstrued as maybe he's not apologetic, maybe he's taking this too lightly, and that's the fear there. So yeah, being very stoic and almost emotionless is normal, and that's something that we would expect.
All right, let me ask you another question. I want you to clarify something for us. Does the defense not trust the methods used by all audio experts, or do they just not trust the methods used by the state's audio experts?
I think it's not a question of the methods used. I think that the point of contention here is the fact that the audio recording is it's screaming, and they're trying to manipulate. Well, first of all, it's not long enough. It's not a long enough sample, and it's not a sample of someone speaking. So they've manipulated it. They've manipulated the pitch, as Professor French said. They've extended it by looping it, and they've tried to make it so that a scream or a shout is somewhat usable. And what defense is saying is that it's just not. It's not generally accepted, and that doesn't meet the standard for the Frye test.
So Vanessa, let me ask you, I think we're all kind of surprised that the Frye hearing has lasted this long. We're now on day 3. These past 2 days in court have been long days, and today could be potentially another long day as well. Yeah. Do they absolutely have to wrap things up today? If not, what happens next?
Well, I'm hoping that they do wrap it up today. It was a fairly quick witness, our first witness. We moved through it fairly quickly, I feel. I'm not sure if there was talk of moving it into tomorrow, or what they're going to do. If it doesn't end today, they're going to have to move for a continuance on the trial, and that's going to push everything back. So I feel that based on the past couple days, they're posturing themselves for a request for a continuance if we can't finish this Frye hearing.
All right, well, we will have to see what happens. Vanessa, stay with us. We'll be back with you in just a few short minutes, but let's go to a quick break right now. Stick around for continuing coverage. All right, I want to bring in attorney from NeJame Law, Vanessa Braley, right now. And Vanessa, you just heard Professor French testifying about the bias of this 911 call. What are your thoughts on this?
The bias of the 911 call, I don't necessarily think that there's the bias. I think that we need to focus on the methodology, because that's what the Frye test is going to focus on, is the fact that the jury is going to be confused if the methodology is used generally, and whether he's a credible witness. The witnesses that the state has presented so far, I don't think have been as credible as defense witnesses.
All right, Vanessa, stand by for more. I want to toss things over to News 13's web anchor, Christine Webb. She's been monitoring our web chat all morning long at cfnews13.com/chat. So, Christine, that chat has now been open almost 2.5 hours, and I know our chatters have a lot to say. So what have they been saying just recently in the last few minutes?
Well, as you can imagine, Kristen, many people have very passionate opinions, and this is also your opportunity to ask some questions. You know, we do have our legal experts that are right here in our studio, and we saw many of you asking some pretty good questions with regards to this case. Now is your opportunity to have your voice heard. If you've got questions, legal questions about this case, it's your chance to ask those questions at cfnews13.com/chat. We've been seeing so many of you commenting. It's pretty interesting. You've got to log online to see what some of your neighbors are saying about this case. Many of you have some pretty passionate opinions about who is actually screaming on that 911 call, what you thought of George Zimmerman's demeanor in court, and also just talking about this case in general. We've been seeing, Kristen, I believe that the hearing is getting underway again, so I'm going to toss it back to you.
That's right, and let's listen in as we believe the attorneys and Judge Nelson has just re-entered the courtroom.